Welcome to the Skol State of Mind podcast. As you already know, I'm your host, D Woods. And if you tuned in to my free agency video about the offense, well, you're in the right place because now we're talking about the defense. So I'm going to do this video a little bit similar to the other video. I'm going to basically go by position, and we're going to break down the current players that are slated to become free agents. Should we bring them back? Shouldn't we bring them back? And we're going to talk about players basically we should outright cut, and talk about players that we should bring in to kind of help this team, achieve our goal, which is win the Super Bowl. So let's get into it. Now, cornerback is a position where we basically have nobody coming off the books and nobody becoming free agents. So basically, all the cornerbacks that we have on the roster last year are basically coming back. Nothing to really talk about here. I mean, we could bring somebody in free agency that's a veteran that can kind of help out, because you saw basically what happened to Caleb Evans down the stretch where he basically lost his confidence and couldn't really play. So, and Brian Murphy got hurt too. That contributed to. So now safety, this is the interesting topic. First off, Theo Jackson has already re-signed with the Minnesota Vikings on, one of those little small veteran deals. Not going to really break it down on how those work because you guys should already know that. So Theo Jackson is back, and that has nothing to do with the development of Lewis Seen. Theo Jackson is back on a cheap deal. You know what he can do, special teams wise. If he can come in and play a couple of downs, you know that. So why wouldn't you just bring that back, especially if you can control how much money you're actually going to play this player? But safety is kind of tricky right now because we really don't know what's going to happen with Harrison Smith in the future. I mean, I would say like this, like beginning of, not free agency, beginning of the offseason, there was a lot of talk that maybe Harrison Smith was going to retire. Then you start to get talks that, maybe Harrison Smith should take a pay cut, and the Vikings was going to approach him with a pay cut. Then you had talks talking about, well, the Vikings might just cut him. We really don't know what the hell is going to happen with Harrison Smith. So that's going to be a wait and see approach. But I think about it like this: if Harrison Smith is not on this roster, I feel like the safety group for the Minnesota Vikings are in a good place. Cam Bynum, I mean, I would say like he played damn good last year. And Josh Metellus, considering he's a Swiss Army knife, I'm not too big on Josh Metellus because I really feel like he's a player that can probably be like a jack of all trades, master of none. And if you look at this defense down the stretch, Josh Metellus kind of, I don't think he's really going to be a great safety in this league. I think as a gadget player, he can do it, but just as of a safety, I don't know. And then you got Lewis Seen. So the safety room maybe is not that great as I thought about it. So we're going to talk about who I feel the Vikings should move in, bring in and help this team out later. But let's talk about linebacker now. So now Troy Dye, I'm going to just raffle off some names that probably won't be back with the Minnesota Vikings so we can just get them out the way. Troy Dye, it's a no for me. Nick Vigil, it's a no for me. My boy Anthony Barr, it's a no for me. I mean, those three guys I feel will not be back for the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, it's not really worth the discussion of even talking too much about it. But, Anthony Barr basically aged out, and Nick Vigil and Troy Dye, in my opinion, don't really show you too much, defensively. So they're basically special team players. But the one player that the Vikings might bring back, considering what kind of deal it is Jordan Hicks. Would I bring him back? No. I feel like this. I feel you need to sign a true thumper, a younger thumper type linebacker in free agency. Maybe, like a Patrick Queen, if he's available. I would love Patrick Queen to come in and solidify the Minnesota Vikings linebacker room. I mean, I know you guys out there is like, what about Ivan Pace? Look, I like Ivan Pace, but I think he's a smaller type linebacker and he's limited. But a guy like Patrick Queen could come in here and basically solidify that position. And to bring it back to Jordan Hicks, I mean, I feel Jordan Hicks' season last year was basically lightning in the bottle. He's going to age out soon, and I wouldn't bring Jordan Hicks back on multiple deals, considering you don't know when that age cliff is going to hit, and his production is going to, take a drastic hit also. So I'm not bringing Jordan Hicks back. So edge. Now the edge room position is tricky because, for one, DJ Wanham had a great season. So during the season, it was talk like, damn, DJ Wanham is going to actually get a great deal somewhere else, but then he got hurt. So is DJ Wanham going to come back to the Minnesota Vikings on a prove it deal because he's injured? We don't know. But for DJ Wanham, I would bring him back. Now, the other edge that's a free agent is Marcus Davenport. Now, I feel Kwesi took a gamble on Marcus Davenport, and he was basically injured this whole season. Now, I'm not one who's going to go out there and be like, he shouldn't have played. He's a sucker. Like, the guy basically had surgery on his ankle. So I'm open to bringing Marcus Davenport back on another prove it deal next season, because I feel like when we saw him in the lineup, he actually made a difference. And even though it was one game, like, the boy can play, but he just was hurt. And I feel like it's really unfair for us as fans or media, people that basically try to, talk about players' toughness and be like, oh, he hurt, he should do this, or, compare him to other guys. Well, this guy was hurt and he played. So, yeah, I just feel like we shouldn't do that. But I'm open to bringing Marcus Davenport if the deal is right. Now, the big fish, the elephant in the room, whatever you want to call it, Danielle Hunter. Beginning of the offseason, when the season ended, I basically felt that the Minnesota Vikings should bring back Danielle Hunter. But as the offseason progressed and I'm doing more research and I'm thinking about things a little bit differently, I feel the Minnesota Vikings should allow Danielle Hunter to walk. I feel Danielle Hunter feels like he wants to chase the highest contract possible, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think the Minnesota Vikings have more holes on defense, so they may not need to tie that up on a 30-year-old edge rusher. And I'm not saying Danielle Hunter is not worth it, but I think it comes a time when teams have to move away from players. And even though Danielle Hunter is my guy, I think the Minnesota Vikings probably should move on at this point. All right. So let's talk about interior defensive linemen. Now, this is going to be quick. You got Jonathan Bullard, Sheldon Day, James Lynch, Tyrus Tonga, and TJ Smith. We need a whole new position group. Like, Harrison Phillips is cool. I'm not bringing him back. And I know Dean Lowry is not on the list of becoming a free agent. I'm not bringing him back either. So out of those basically 6 guys, I feel we need to revamp the defensive line room. And one of the reasons why I did the defensive line group last is because I feel like this. If the Minnesota Vikings can go out and sign one of the biggest fish in free agency to help solidify their defensive line, which is Christian Wilkins from the Miami Dolphins, do that. Now, that goes with the fact that I'm saying that the Minnesota Vikings should allow Danielle Hunter to walk, because I feel like this. If you can go out there and sign Wilkins, to a good deal, maybe a 4-year deal. We just saw Chris Jones signed his 4-year deal with the Kansas City Chiefs. I feel if you got a big time interior defensive lineman that can push that, center and can get to the quarterback, like, I think the Vikings need that. So I'm willing to let Danielle Hunter walk and get that money to a big time defensive tackle. And then you can basically draft, depth, for defensive tackle. And you can sign guys in free agency to step in as depth pieces also. So that's where I'm going with that. Now, if we talk about linebacker, I already told you how I felt about Patrick Queen, the safety position, but that's basically it, on what I feel about the Minnesota Vikings on the defensive side of the ball with their upcoming free agents and what I think they should do. So going forward, I'm gonna be dropping more videos because free agency is about to drop in the next couple of days and it's about to get crazy. So you're gonna see a lot of shorts. You're gonna see, a lot of little quick videos here and there of me responding on how I feel about things. But you know how I end the show. Skol, baby.